Democrats in 14 US states are preparing to vote on who they want to be the candidate to take on Donald Trump in November's presidential election. Sophie Long has been assessing the Super Tuesday poll from Los Angeles.
Winning the Democratic nomination to be the person to take on President Trump is all about gathering delegates. On Super Tuesday, more than a third of them are up for grabs. That's more than on any other day in this long, grueling campaign. It's big. And it's even bigger this time because California, the most populous state with hundreds of delegates, is also taking part.
About a quarter of those eligible to vote are Hispanic. Some are voting for the first time after coming to citizenship classes like this. They're passionate about being part of this political process.
And it's good to become a citizen because you can vote. Like you feel like people's gonna hear your voice. So it is good to become a citizen because you can vote for the person that you believe it is going to change our world.
Issues that are important to them are immigration, of course, but also education, healthcare and the economy.
We went from...
In more rural areas, farmers want to know who the candidate will be and what solutions they propose for the many issues affecting this huge and diverse country.
Right now, the focus is trying to narrow this field down and getting a better picture of what that looks like. We know what Trump's proposals are, particularly when it comes to water, which is so important to my farmers and ranchers here. That's a critical issue that he's been very supportive of for us here locally. So to see what the other candidate or candidates, as it starts to narrow down, proposes is going to be a big interest to us.
While no one can win the nomination on Super Tuesday, it can get them a long way towards it. Senator Bernie Sanders has taken the lead both in the Liberal lane and in the national polls. Former Vice President Joe Biden had been limping at the start of this marathon, but his big win in South Carolina has put him back in contention at just the right time. His performance could be helped by other moderates dropping out and endorsing him. But enter the late starter. On the ballot for the first time is billionaire Mike Bloomberg, and he's been converting his cash into campaign ads. Also running still are Senators Elizabeth Warren and Tulsi Gabbard.
It is the day that political pundits have been waiting for. It could make or break candidates' campaigns, but it might not. Sophie Long, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Stay with us. Still to come on the briefing. After Liverpool's shock defeat against Watford on Saturday, how will Jurgen Klopp manage the lineup for the trip to Stamford Bridge?
First, the plates slid gently off the restaurant tables. Then suddenly, the tables, the chairs and people crashed sideways and downwards. It was just a matter of seconds as the ferry lurched onto her side.
The hydrogen bomb. On a remote Pacific atoll, the Americans had successfully tested a weapon whose explosive force dwarfed that of the bomb dropped on Hiroshima.
I had heard the news earlier, and so my heart went bang, bang, bang.
The constitutional rights of these marchers are their rights as citizens of the United States, and they should be protected, even in the right to test them out, so that they don't get their heads broken and are sent to hospitals.
This religious controversy, I know you don't want to say too much about it, but does it worry you that it's going to boil up when you get to the States?
Well, it worries me, yes, but I hope everything will be all right in the end, as they say.
This is the briefing on BBC News. The headlines. The head of the World Health Organization says the outbreak of the new coronavirus has entered uncharted territory but can still be contained. And with official results yet to be announced, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has claimed victory in the country's third election in a year. Now, as we've mentioned, later today, Super Tuesday kicks in when there is a vast number of Americans going to the polls to pick the Democratic candidate who will run against President Trump in the elections in November in the US. Well, Vera Sakem is a senior technology and policy advisor with Technology for Global Security. She's in the Bay Area near San Francisco. Welcome to the briefing, Vera. First of all, what is the threat to Super Tuesday when it comes to technology, when it comes to social media?
So I think we have to distill this into a couple of parts. The threat is going to come not just potentially from foreign interference, as you might have heard, a number of U.S. officials have announced that they're very much closely watching what might happen on Super Tuesday and coordinating this via information sharing with state and local entities and sponsors. But I think we need to be looking at what might actually happen. You might see, or we might see, conspiracy theories in an effort to install fear and confusion in the American electorate that's voting on Super Tuesday. And that might seem in a couple of ways. One, it might be viewed as a way to deter voters from actually voting. Also, potentially, there might be disinformation in terms of where folks might actually go to vote, where the location might be. Those are the kind of issues that we might see playing out on social media as well as off social media. So I think this is not just the technological side of this, but also things that might actually be amplified outside of social media and online platforms as well.
So for those who intend to vote on Super Tuesday, they've just got to be pretty vigilant. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And the best thing that voters can do is when they see that voting ballot, when they get that voting ballot in the mail, assuming that they have, if they're not sure about where to go or what to do tomorrow, if they have not voted yet, go online to your local election officials and to look at that election website to see where you need to go and for the best source of information. That's likely going to be the best source of information of what to do. And the best thing that folks can do is really vote. That's probably going to be one of the best ways to counter disinformation and to enhance our security and democracy.
And quickly, Vera, what is behind this? Who or what is behind this misinformation and cause of confusion online?
Of course, there's foreign interference and foreign actors. We certainly saw this in 2016 and 2018. Russia, for example, is a prime state actor that we've been following. They have changed their tactics over the course. In 2016, we saw a number of fake personas appearing to be Americans, and we saw that narrative change to amplifications. And they change, and we'll see what happens actually in 2020, because they change depending on what the outcome might be and what the electorate is looking like and what the divisions are looking like. So their tactics might change. But we should not be just looking at foreign interference at actors like Russia. I think because we see so many divisions and so much polarization in American society, that there is this narrative between us versus them, between, if you will, the more conservative side and the more progressive side. And we may see domestic actors actually pushing disinformation. And once again, it's not just on platforms, but as well as on mainstream media and other channels as well.
Vera, we appreciate your time. We'll be watching Super Tuesday very closely. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
She's very welcome. Right, let's now bring you all the latest